Following video is an excerpt from a webinar that we recorded and thought it would be a very good tool for you to really understand the value and the features for virtual publisher planning. We look forward to your feedback.
Have here and talk a little bit about virtual publisher and how it's actually broken up. Virtual publisher is really created for the planning and production of your titles, your issues. So we've broken it up really into two different modules. The first module is actually a planning module, and the second would be a production module. The main difference between those two modules is if you're working in a planning mode, obviously it does all the planning features that are listed here, and it works in really kind of a low-res environment. Now the difference is if you actually upgrade or add the additional module of production, then you actually are into a high-res environment where you're doing your full, whether it's a PDF X1A or PDF X4 or whatever that final format you wish to deliver directly to your printer or directly to you, or to both, because we can set up multiple delivery destinations. Those files are delivered directly out of the back end of the system once everything is approved. So what I'm going to kind of cover today really are those two modules in planning and production, and I'm going to try to make sure that I kind of draw that line and distinguish between the two modules, so when I switch over to production you understand where the feature sets begin and end. Okay, so I'm going to start like this. This is going to be a little bit different than the normal demo that I do, but since you guys are a semi-ad customer, I want to kind of make the connection between semi-ad and virtual publisher and how I guess the combination of the two products together are very powerful. So the first thing I'm going to do, actually earlier before we started this demo, I actually submitted an ad in through my little advertiser account that I have set up in my demo environment. And I have it set up to where when an ad comes into my virtual publisher publication, it actually sends me an email notification that an advertiser sent in an ad. So in this case, the advertiser I set up, it's called AdWorks. And you could see 1 hour ago at 11:36, I submitted in this full page ad running in the KZ demo publication that I have set up. And of course, it gives me a little representation of the ad itself. So if you can imagine, you can set up this this material request that goes out to your advertiser, or this advertising starts to roll into this particular publication, this issue, and you start getting notifications of those ads coming in. All you need to do essentially is just click on the link. It will actually bring you directly into the ad itself from the link in the email. And I have this system set up to actually go through a single approval cycle. So the advertiser submits the ad in. I receive the email as the ad layout person. I get this link, and the first thing I'll do is I'll take a look at the ad, make sure that I didn't have any pre-flight issues with it, all the same stuff that you guys are familiar with already in semi-ad. The only option that I have here is I can do an approve or reject based upon what I see. I'm going to go ahead and approve this ad. And once I approve the ad, you'll see that it finalizes it exactly as it does for you in your current semi-ad system. It creates that digital receipt. It creates the final PDF X1A. It's really what it's doing is it's basically finalizing the file, and then gives you the ability, as you do through semi-ad, again, to do pickups and other things with the file later. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to actually click on the virtual publisher environment. And I'm going to log in as a KZ admin. This is the Keith admin is actually my administrative account into the publisher account. So once I sign in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that publication that I just had the advertiser submit that ad into. And if you'll notice, the ad automatically pops up over here into the left spot, which we call our clipboard. And I have the ability to actually take that ad, drag it in, drop it into any position I want. So I can put it into position 6 and put it there. And you can even say, oh no, I didn't want it in position 6, but I want it to run in folio 12. I can grab it and move it back down to folio 12. Or I can move it back to the clipboard or really do anything with it as far as dragging and dropping it back and forth within the interface. Now, I really kind of wanted to start with that little portion of the demo to kind of give you an idea of the integration between semi-ad and virtual publisher. But what I'm going to do is I kind of pulled the cake out of the oven as it was baked. I'm going to go back and actually show you how we made the cake. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and set up a new issue to kind of start from scratch and show you how easy it is. Now, the The system is a single system, so literally with your current semi-ad account that you have right now, literally all I would need to do is go into your account and click on the ability to use Virtual Publisher Planning or Virtual Publisher Production, and you're up and running. There's nothing else that you need to do with your account other than set up a pre-flight workflow for your pages because you have a separate pre-flight workflow for your ads. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and set up a new issue. Clicking on Add Issue. I will choose my publication. We'll call this the May issue. And one good thing about Virtual Publisher is that you have the ability to actually choose templates. And I'm going to circle back to that once I get it set up and show you what I actually had in that template. So I'm going to choose the Master VP template and say Add Issue. Now the system tracks milestones, so it tracks everything that really happens within the system and makes sure that these material deadlines are being met, and if they're not, you can actually set the system up where it actually sends out notifications to you based upon those milestones being met. You'll notice on the left side this May issue that I just set up, it's red because it's actually not ready to receive material or start planning. There's a couple of things that I need to do. So the first thing I need to do is go in and actually set up an issue ship date. We'll also track an on sale date. And then we have some ad deadlines. So we have a materials due date we need to set for the ad material, and then the run date, which is the hard stop for the ad material coming in. Now once those things are set, your issue is pretty much up and ready to start. You'll notice that now it's not red anymore, and it's set up and ready to start the planning process. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the book plan. And instead of looking at this KZ demo, we'll go to the May plan that I just set up. And you'll notice that here's the publication that I just created. Now, the good thing about when I created this May issue and I chose that VP master template is that I can configure the system and start the process of creating an issue and then save it back out as a template for things that are going to be repetitive every month. So in this case, in my demo account, that I say that we're going to have versioning every month. So my cover, I'm going to have a newsstand as well as a default. And if I click on that, you see we have actually two files which are going to be associated with that folio position in the book. So we do handle versioning on pages, ads, inserts. You'll notice at the top here that in my template I also had a blow-in that I'm going to have every month that runs right in the inside, right with CV2 in between CV2 and page 3. Now, all of the things that you're seeing in the template that I created are customizable once we bring them in. So you can modify this template any way you want because now it's brought in and you're ready to start the process. So we know that things change from time to time. For instance, let's say that you sold a full page ad that's going to run on 6 and you've got the editor's letter that's currently on 6. You could simply just take the editor's letter, move it over to folio position 7, and then I'll show you how easy it is to go in and actually create an ad reservation. So if I say on the left side, and hopefully everybody can see this left side panel here, which is our clipboard, we have the ability to create reserve ads and create editorials. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and reserve an ad. And if you're familiar at all with the ad reservation system through SemiAd, it's the exact same system. So advertiser, we'll just call this my ad. We can put any headline information in for the ad. We can make a product or branding metadata associated with the ad. If you have an external booking number associated with the ad, you can actually put that information in. Most important thing, obviously, you choose the ad size. Now, a couple of additional features that you have is that we can choose that you have a category associated with this ad. And I'm going to show you some of the rules that we have when you're actually dragging and dropping and creating your book, that we can manage the process of making sure that you're not violating ad rules that you've agreed with your advertisers. So I'm just going to put this in, say, a flooring category. You can choose that it's going to go into a certain section, and this stuff is optional. If I choose no section whatsoever, it won't force me to put that ad into that section. But let's say that I do say I want this to go into the future design section of my book. Now, one of the cool things about the integration between Virtual Publisher and SemiAd is that I also have the ability to choose who the advertiser is. And this is my advertisers database. So let's say that I want to go to the AdWorks advertiser. I can choose a user within the company and choose that I'm going to actually send this email out to the advertiser to say, hey, you agreed to run a full-page ad in the May issue. I can put in a note. And as soon as I say reserve ad space, what happens is an email notification goes out to that advertiser and says, hey, you agreed to run this ad. And as you saw in the beginning of my demo, it's just an email with a little link, which allows them to go in and actually just submit their PDF into the issue. Now, one of the good things about it, and the reason that I created this ad and put it into the future design section, I'm going to show you some of the rules that once you set it up that way, make sure that while you're planning, you won't violate it. So I know this is going to go into the future design section, but I'm going to try to drag and drop it into the bath design section. When I'll do that, you see it pops up and it gives me a warning. It says, hey, no, that was actually not created to run in that section. It was created to run in another section. You have the ability to take that and you can drag it and say, you remember we wanted to put this into folio position 6. And when I do that, it actually pops the ad into that folio position. Now, the editorials pretty much work the same way as far as creating editorials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on editorial, and I'm going to show you how to reserve an editorial. So when I reserve this editorial, again, call it my story, because I have no imagination. You can put slug information in for the editorial. I can even assign it to an author. And if I assign it to an author, I can actually assign it to one of my internal production people or editors or writers or whoever it is, or a group. And when I do that, I'm admin. When I do that, it will actually create an email notification out to me to say, hey, you've been issued this editorial to be created, and it's running in whatever section it is you choose. In this case, we'll choose it's going to run in the future design section, and it's going to be a 2-page editorial. And then you can put any special instructions in you'd like for the reserving of the editorial. So once I say add editorial, just as with ads, that editorial shows up on the right side, then you have the ability to actually drag that editorial into a folio position. Now, everything I showed you just now is kind of a manual way of actually creating ads, creating editorials, and then placing those ads and editorials into the folio slots. We do have, our system does integrate with external systems. We have a standard API that we have. We've integrated with external ad booking systems like MSG and some other things. We could actually integrate with other systems for the same importation of your editorial metadata. Before I do that, showing all the manual stuff that we do, I did want to show you how we could actually import the information in. So let's say that, number one, I want to go ahead and start with, say, importing plan data. So I'll just from an external spreadsheet, which is simply just a comma-separated file. I'm going to choose add data. And again, this could be an external ad booking system that you have that we integrate with. But in this case, maybe you have an output from that ad booking system, and then you just import the data. Where you saw me set up all of those ad reservations, I'm going to actually import the information in. And you'll see that it actually imports all of that information over in the clipboard. The other thing I want to show is it works the same for editorial, and maybe this is more appropriate for the audience. But if I go in and I choose the exact same feature where I say import plan data, I can say, well, no, this is editorial data that I do want to import in. And if I say browse for file and I choose the editorial data, it will actually import all of the metadata for the editorial based upon that external spreadsheet, as well as the page count, author, and actually start page. So when I say process this file, rather than put this information into the clipboard, since I've actually assigned folio positions, you'll see that it actually brings in all of the information. So what it did basically is just created my entire book based upon that external spreadsheet. So there's a couple of different ways. I do show it this way just to make sure that you understand that we are a cog in the wheel. We do integrate with external systems, and we do have the ability to take metadata associated with either ads or editorials. So the need for actually rekeying information in when you're actually planning your book is unnecessary. So let me spend just a couple more minutes kind of talking a little bit about planning and how we do the drag and drop and how we actually work the editorials around the ads. Now, a couple of the ad placement rules, for instance, if you look at this IKEA ad, I know that that IKEA ad right now is set to go in the first 5% of the book. I can actually say that I'm going to try to drag it into position 10, which is actually not the first 5%, and it gives me a warning. So if I click OK and try to drag it into this inside cover, then it does allow me to actually pop it into that first 5%. And if you look at this little 5% right here, it tells you anything ahead of that is the 5%. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can actually drag and drop ads on top of your editorial. So if you want to flow the editorials around the ads. So let's say that I want to take this half-page ad and I want to drag it on top of the story. I can put it on the My Story too, and you'll see that it actually flows over onto page 10. And it essentially works the same thing as you start dragging and drop smaller ads, say a quarter-page ad on top of that, and then you can grab another quarter-page ad and basically just continue to fill your book up. So you'll see that it do an auto flow for you based upon dragging and dropping these files in. Now, one of the other rules that we can have is we can have placement rules for your ads. So if you've got an ad that's placed right here on page 9 and it's actually a window ad, you'll see that I have another window ad, which is a Pella ad. And if I actually grab that ad and I drag it in, it actually warns me because I set up a rule that said, you know, those ads can't go anywhere closer than 3 pages from another window ad, and then I can drag that ad and move it down here. So once the system is set up, you're finished. You're pretty much going to pretend like we've created our entire book. I should say that you also have the ability I had mentioned earlier on in the demo, where the difference really between planning and production is that planning is more low res. Production is really when you move into a high res environment. I'll show you an easy way that we can actually get the low res. Let's say that you've actually planned this story and you've already started as a designer to start creating the files, and you just want to take a look at how it's going to lay out in the book. You do have the ability to actually drag and drop through our interface. So in this case, I'm going to take these 2 low-res JPEGs, and if I could just drag these into page 12 and 13, you'll see that it allows you to actually see how the book is going to start laying out in a low-res environment. That was one of the features that we added just recently, that should a customer not want to actually have a high-res environment, it was a good little add-on. Now you can do the same thing for production and high-res once you promote your book. Well, let's pretend like I love it, I'm finished, I'm all planned out, I'm ready to actually take this book and I want to promote it to production.